Hello, everyone. I'm Monica, the Creative Beast, and I want to say thanks so much for tuning in to my channel here on YouTube. I am sharing a little flip-through video of some little books that I made as I was learning some traditional bookbinding skills under the tutelage of a wonderful teacher. Her name is Wendy Poma. She used to teach at Glendale Community College, but she has retired from teaching. But I am really lucky that I got to learn from her while she was still teaching. And she had a lot of different workshops, and some of the workshops were different kinds of books. And what I wanted to do is show you some really small, tiny books that we made in just one workshop. All of these here, so you can see by my hand how small these books are. And I'm just going to make sure that we can focus on all the books, and I'm going to go through them one by one. So these are mostly traditional bookbinding. You can see this is a traditional, this is a traditional, this is an interesting one, this is a accordion fold, and this is a fun, simple binding using some really interesting materials. So I'm just going to go ahead and unstack, and we'll go through them all one by one. So this is a classic binding here with a front cover, a spine, a back cover, and there are mitered corners with lovely end paper, and all the paper is pretty much the same just because it's so small. All right, and this is made to hold some sticky notes. So that's why it opens up fully here. So it's sort of just like a little portfolio to hold your sticky notes. And I don't really use it because I just love it this way. It's just so darn cute. So that is one little book we made, and these were all made in the same workshop. So there's that small, tiny book. This is another traditionally bound book with some ribbon to tie it closed. The front cover, spine, back cover. I believe they call this form a codex book, okay? So you tie it closed, and then you untie it and open it. This one has always been a little tricky, okay, because this lock was made with a lot of little individual sheets of paper, and then it was glued here. And the way she constructed it is we just used some double stick tape, which you can see, and we're supposed to stick this into the tape. So it's supposed to stay in place, but over time, it doesn't always stay in place. But you can see there's some really lovely end papers to the inside of the book. Okay, some really nice handmade paper. I used a nice contrasting ribbon that coordinated with the end papers a little bit. That's supposed to be a kind of plummy color. You can see that, I think. I know the light might be changing here today, this afternoon, so it's not always easy to see some of the colors. But yeah, this double stick tape doesn't seem to be working as well, so I might try and remove it and redo it, or I might just go ahead and attempt to glue this in place. It's just, it may not make it easy to open for the pages. But I keep it as a sort of example, as a little memento, a kind of learning tool for making books. You can see I'm trying to wrap it around to tie it back up. And because it's a satin ribbon, it tends to come undone really, really quickly. So let's see if we can get that going nicely. There we go. All right, so that'll do. So yeah, a little hand-bound book with a ribbon tie. Slightly bigger than the palm of my hand. This book was a lot of fun to make. So there is some traditional binding, but it's an exposed spine, and you can see the embroidery floss that was used to put this book together. This is some really great, awesome textured snaky-like paper that was shiny, so I used it. I went with a color scheme of black and red, and she had these little bits, so I glued in this tiny little gold key. Yee. Mitered corners, black end papers, which is glued to the first page of the book. Okay, so what was happening was tying together the signatures instead of stitching them. So there was a bit of thread that went around and tied, and they all gather. They congregate, as it were, down here at the bottom. And then some glue was attached to just the tiniest bit of the edge, one signature after another, after another, after another, to create the block. So then it was glued to the end paper. The end paper glued to the covers. And then we have these threads dangling here as a decorative element of the book. And that's how this little book works. This was really, really fun. I really enjoyed making this. I've thought about making more. I may try and do that again one day. So I don't have anything in here. Again, these little books are really just sort of memory pieces and examples of ways to construct a book. That's why I've kept them that way. Okay, and then there's this book here. This is a classic. It's a kind of fold around book. This is the belly band. Actually, I should probably turn it this way so that you can actually see the leaves falling. You can see this paper is familiar. It's an end paper inside this book here. I really liked the green and plum together. It's a really lovely combination. Some mulberry and some little sticky bits, little tiny embellishments that I glued. And I don't know if you can see, but it's actually kind of a velvety paper, which is really nice. I mean, yeah, this dark plummy stuff is soft velvetiness. Okay, so we take off the band so we can see how this book unfolds. I do variations of this a lot. This is a single sheet book, what people will often refer to as an instant book. Let's see if we can get this open. This is the kind that is cut around and around and around and around and around to make the accordion. Okay, this is the easiest first way that most people will learn to make this kind of book. I no longer cut it this way because I like my books to open symmetrically in some way, and this book opens every which way, and it's kind of confusing. So I don't cut them that way. I cut them in more symmetrical patterns, and I've found many in Cover to Cover by Shereen LaPlantz. I will try and have a link, or at least the name of the book, at the bottom of the video, in case you're interested in getting a copy of it. So I kind of played with some symmetry, again, with scraps of the paper so that we had, you know, some nice graph lines happening on this side and a little more oriented differently on this side, so you can only see some smaller grapes and some slightly larger bunches on this side. And then we have, it's called the belly band to help keep this together, to help keep it from flying open whenever. And I really like belly bands. They're a lot of fun. So I'm making books with belly bands these days now that I know what it's called. And finally, this little book, this is like some fake suede. I think you can get it at the hardware store. I think it's supposed to be like shelf liner. You can believe that. And, you know, some cheap little suede tie. And this is pretty easy. So there's a lot of tie here. So it gets wrapped around a lot, similar to this book. Okay. And we wrap around and we unwrap, and let's see if we can get this unwrapped here. So essentially this is just a simple basic pamphlet stitch. So we cut these great big huge holes. The cardboard is covered with this, and you can see just a little bit of mitering. We cut down a smaller piece so there's more as end paper in the book. This is a big fat signature with a lot of pages. If you look carefully, you can see what we call the creep in the book. Okay, when it's closed, you can see the centers are now creeping out because the outers are getting pushed out as we fold more paper and more paper and more paper into a single signature. And you can see the two holes. We put the tie through them. We come out the other side and we just tied it together. And that was that for this little book. Again, just it's a small mini example of a way of binding a book, so I don't work in it. I just keep it as an example. And I have another similar example, larger scale, with prettier fabric of this type of book. And I'll share that in another video soon, because I'm going through all my books and handmades and handbounds and artful books and making a list of videos and flip-throughs to share with you all. So that is the largest of the small books. And I'll just go back to restacking them. You can see my little collection of tiny little books. Yay! Oh, yeah. So thank you so much for stopping by my channel. I hope you enjoyed my little walkthrough of my little stack of books here. Yay! Little books are so much fun. They're a lot of fun. So thanks again for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll be back again with some more flip-throughs of some of my other art books, art journals, and handbound books. And yeah, so I look forward to coming back, and I hope you'll join me again. Thanks so much. Have a good one.